Welcome back to Starving Artist Courses, your all-in-one online music education resource. I'm Jeremy. This is your week 3 guitar lesson, electric guitar lesson. Last week we talked about the major scale and how to play it on the guitar. This week we're going to talk about major chords and how to play those. So we're going to talk about 2 chords. We're going to talk about C and we're going to talk about G7. So when we're talking about a chord is multiple notes that you're playing generally simultaneously on the guitar. We have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again. That would be our octave. Usually with the major scale, and with other scales as well, we kind of number our notes inside the scale. So in this case, we have C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7, and then the octave, sometimes we say is A, which would be C again. So when we play the major chords, in this case, our C major chord, we're playing the 1, which is the C, the 3, which is the E, and the 5, which is the G. That makes up our C major chords, C, E, G, and then we double the C and the E again, which is very normal on guitar. Most other instruments that play chords, we usually play multiple notes again on some of them. With the G chord, we have G, B, D, and then to make it the 7, we add that F in. So a 7 chord is a little bit more complicated chord because we're adding an extra note to it. So usually when we have a major or a minor chord, we have just 3 notes. In this case, a 7, and this is a dominant 7, we're adding in that F, and that makes it sound a little different. But that's the difference between the two. And generally when we play chords, we strum. So what I'm doing with my right hand here is I'm keeping my wrist kind of loose, so I'm not like, you don't want to have your wrist really rigid when you're playing. You want to have it loose, kind of like when you're like, if your hand's wet or something, you're kind of flicking off the wetness. Keep it real loose, kind of use your elbow a little bit, and just kind of attack it a little bit. So when we play these chords, first what you want to try to do is go through each string one at a time so you hear each of the strings. If you have your fingers too kind of flat like this, you might hear all these kind of muted string kind of sounds. So generally what that means is your fingers have to be up more. So the more you can get them kind of perpendicular to the neck, so they're almost straight up, the better, because you want to have that clearance between your fingers and the strings here. And generally, when you're talking fingertips, you want to be kind of using the top part of your fingers as opposed to the flat parts. That'll help you get that clearance that you need with the strings. And then, generally, once you get comfortable playing with those two, then we kind of want to go back and forth, just so you can get used to changing between the 2 chords. And maybe what you'd want to do is feel a tempo, something real slow, like go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 3, 4, and then back to C, 2, 3, 4, and then G7, 3, 4. For homework this week, we're going to work on just going between the 2 chords, the C chord and the G7 chord. And what you really want to work on is making sure your fingers are vertical, so they're not touching the other strings. You want to try to arpeggiate them too, like this, where you're plucking each string of the chord, so you can kind of hear each note clearly. You just want to make sure you're hearing those as you go between them, so they don't sound like this, where then you know your fingers are too flat. You might also need to squeeze harder. Chords are tough at first because it takes a lot of grip strength with your hand, so just make sure you're squeezing really hard when you're playing these. And that's it. That's it for this week's video. If you want to go deeper into your musicianship, make sure to check out starvingartistcourses.com/VIP. There we'll have a bunch of different packages. We'll have one-on-one time with different instructors. We'll have a forum there where you can talk with different students and different teachers. And it's awesome. So make sure to like, subscribe, ding the bell. We'll see you next time. Bye.